everybody, welcome to FBS International Airport, Episode 1. Now, this is a project between myself and a few of my good friends, Stricktoaster and V. Swigglehausen.
How's it going?
Hi, guys.
That is focused purely on building an international airport that is to scale and has all the details and things you'd expect to see from an airport. This episode, it's quite a bit of highway work, actually, and that's not even really unique to this episode. I'd say the first, maybe 2 episodes. I mean, Stricktoaster, you don't really work too much on highways, do you?
I didn't work at all in highways.
Okay.
I think I nudged a couple, out of my way.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So I think it's mostly just me and Jay working on these in the beginning. Yeah, it's probably fair to say that this project has been ongoing for quite a bit longer than it's actually been up for. We've been planning.
Let's
this
talk
for
about that.
Quite a long time. Yeah. Let's talk about it. We've been planning this project for forever. It feels like, right?
The beginning of the summer. That being summer 2017, and we just kept thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah, thinking about it, and it's actually been really cool because we've all traveled quite a bit since starting this, and I don't think I ever really noticed these things, but at all the different airports that I've been to, I've been constantly thinking about our project, that's interesting, or seeing things I never really noticed before while traveling. So yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, even the map creation, because you were talking about freeways a second ago, and I was just remembering that you did a whole month of just setting up this map. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the map, because that already is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of this project specifically.
It is, right. So I started the map forever ago, actually, and this ended up being probably one of the longest map building kind of sprints that I went on. I've done a couple different maps now, and this one in particular took a long time, just tweaking the foliage and stuff to make it look nice but still be playable, because that was kind of the big challenge there, was not tanking our FPS, which I think still kind of happened in the end, but we can talk about that later, I guess. But yeah, so this map was designed, and I do explain this a little bit in the map creation video as well, so I'll kind of briefly go over it in this video. But the map was designed so that we could just develop a big airport kind of central transit hub and not worry too much about making any sort of city or any sort of civilization around this airport. It's all kind of secluded, so it's almost as if this airport kind of exists in some region just between 2 cities or nearby some city, without actually showing any of the development or any of that stuff kind of around the airport. So it kind of simulates that. We have a relatively high population. You can see it's around 40,000 people, and we have all the services taken care of, all the power, utilities, all that's kind of taken care of off to the side. You can't really see where it is.
There's a fusion reactor under the Walmart.
There is a fusion reactor under the Walmart. Yeah. So
they're very high tech.
They are very high tech. If you're curious about how this map is built and how all that works, you can check out the videos on that on my channel. But
is it in the workshop?
I don't think we'll show that too much. It is on the workshop. Actually, it will be on the workshop by the time this video comes out, but it's not on the workshop right now.
And it will be in the description for sure.
And it will definitely be in the description. So if you want to see that, I do recommend it. It's kind of weird. There's some weird stuff hidden in this map, as you guys were pointing out. The Walmart seems to be the center of quite a few odd things going on in this region. But
I mean, it's not necessarily just for building a massive airport like we are. I mean, you can grab this map and just start a city that already has a lot of problems worked out.
That's true.
It already has a lot of problems, period.
Yeah, this definitely there's a big challenge in balancing maps like this, so that they'll be working, for future builds. The whole idea, right, is that you don't have to worry too much about the utilities and stuff, and that was surprisingly kind of a big challenge. I kind of imagined that it'd be a little bit more black and white as to how to go about making a map like this that would just kind of handle itself. But there's a lot of little things, little weird quirks in the game that make that difficult to do. I know we already kind of experienced the whole death wave kind of thing, because when I made the map, I spent a whole bunch of time just very slowly introducing a greater population. So maybe every 20 minutes or so, I'd plop another 500 household building or something like that, and then I'd let it slowly build up people, and then wait for some more time. That way we didn't have death waves that just totally cripple our whole infrastructure. And then of course we'd have random issues where we would send the save over, and then one of us would forget that we don't have the vanilla emergency vehicles checked, and then next thing, all the stuff's destroyed, and then like the population is reset, so everyone respawned at the same time. So
what's the population at right now, by the way?
Well, right now, for me, it looks like it's like 20,000, but it kind of fluctuates a lot. Like it'll go between.
Yeah, I guess we're looking at the same footage, by the way. I just noticed that. But because I remember it being a little bit higher than that, like 40,000 at the time when I recorded my episode.
Right. It definitely fluctuates. It'll go between like 20,000 and 40,000 usually. I'm not really sure why it fluctuates so hard, actually. It shouldn't. It looks like there's maybe a death wave going on or something right now, and it's kind of going back up again. But yeah, it's around there.
Actually, one thing that I kind of mentioned this, very casually, but I already recorded my episode. In fact, at the time of this recording, we already recorded like 4 episodes so far.
Yeah.
I think Jay is working on the 5th, which we're not going to talk about because obviously we're going to talk about in greater detail about those episodes when the time comes. But it really changes the whole traffic around the city as soon as we start putting down the actual runways and the airport terminals and all that. Like population starts to shift quite dramatically. That's what I was referring to before.
Yeah. I was going to say, even the death waves kind of work in our favor, because once the airport starts being an airport, we end up with a lot of people going in and out. So
that's true.
There's finely tuned and balanced traffic.
Yeah, it's actually really cool how that works, because once we get the whole airport functioning, it's like you're saying, it's like a stress test on our infrastructure. Like a death wave comes, and then there's like something like 10,000 people all spawning and trying to get into the map, and they'll all take the airport since it's the fastest route into the map. And it's pretty interesting to watch, actually. So
you said that when the airport is functional, it will be functional, by the way.
Right.
I sort of pulled it off, and it's kind of breathtaking.
Not to spoil too much, but I'm going to say you more than sort of pulled it off.
Yeah, it kind of works. We'll see. Maybe it gets totally destroyed in future episodes. Who knows? Yeah, but at the time,
all it'll take is one more DLC to come out.
Yeah.
Then we start from scratch.
Yeah. No, I was actually really impressed by how functional you made it, and that was definitely a hurdle that I think we all had to overcome in certain ways. Like one of the biggest challenges I think in building this whole thing, and especially starting the project, like the very beginning of it, was working with the AI and the way that the pathfinding works in this game. Because I think that all of us had kind of agreed that the one thing we really wanted to do with this project was make things functional. So we wanted to actually have people using the airport. We wanted to actually have, the illusion that people are arriving at terminals and different terminals that are far away, and they're getting transport down to, the pickup drop-off zones or the roads or whatever. And so we spent a lot of time tweaking that stuff, and I think that might have been some of the most time spent was just on making sure the highways worked correctly and all that stuff, at least in these early episodes. So while it might seem like we're not doing a ton of detailing in the first episodes, we're definitely spending a lot of time on the infrastructure and on making sure everything works properly, which was a bit of a challenge, I think. At least it was for me. I don't know. Yeah.
It'll sound dumb in future episodes where it turns out that we've actually gone through and have been moving and changing things, but we're trying to set up like the base pieces before detailing, so that nobody has to move 60,000 props.
Right.
When they have to shift a terminal 8 inches to the left.
Right. And I actually I think you hit on something kind of important here with this. One of the most interesting things, at least for me, having done these kinds of collabs before, and Strict Toaster and I have both done a few together as well. Usually how these have kind of worked in the past is we could just kind of each pick a new thing to work on and kind of seclude our our work between different episodes and not really worry too much about having too much overlap or having things that are dependent on other things that we're also working on or whatever. But this whole project has been definitely very different, because pretty much everything that's going on is dependent on other parts of the airport. So whether it's like the infrastructure of the highways is dependent on where our terminals are going to go, which is dependent on where the runways are. So this whole project has been very, very closely working together, right? Like we haven't been able to just kind of ignore each other's work and do our own thing. It's really been a lot of thinking about where things need to go ahead of time. So it's been like an interesting challenge, I think. getting all that stuff to
So everything is pretty much interconnected. I mean, obviously, I'm going to talk about this in greater detail in my episode, and probably Jay in yours. But I had to like move things around. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. Even though we're sort of laying down the main freeways here and there, we still have to like adjust a few things to make room for this new terminal that we forgot that we needed, or this parking lot or whatever else. And we tend to consolidate our changes on our Discord server. We actually ask everyone, it's like, hey, do you mind if I delete all your work for a moment? But it's for the greater good.
It is for the greater good. Unfortunately, we've been pretty good about not having to delete too much of each other's work, which is honestly really surprising because there's just, like you were saying, there's so much interconnectivity between all the different parts of this project, and there's been quite a few times where it's like, okay, now we gotta like, I mean, especially for you, Strict Toaster, because when you start on the runways and stuff in the next few episodes, like, I just I imagine like being presented with like a setup of how the highways are going to work and the terminals are going to work, and then all of a sudden I know that you kind of had to learn along the way, like, oh wow, the AI for these planes is not going to function how I want it to. I'm going to have to tweak this quite a bit. So I think that's when the real challenges came in, was when we already had some infrastructure established, and then it was like, oh, things aren't going to work out the way we thought because none of us had really done anything to this scale before, and we didn't really know how the planes were going to react or how the people were going to react trying to get to the different terminals and stuff. So,
but I would say that those were pretty minor for the most part. We haven't had to make massive changes to our original plans. We were actually pretty careful with our initial plans, and we pretty much discussed, hey, should we do this way or not? It's like, yes, okay, and then we all sort of agreed ahead of time and addressed potential issues ahead of time. That's
true. Yeah, actually, the highway infrastructure that we planned out ended up working out really well, I think. I mean, we really didn't have to change it too much at all. Like it pretty much, it flows super well towards the end. So as you guys see, and we're talking a lot about future stuff, so you'll see these things as we come. And I think that the idea here is we just want to make sure that we're kind of conveying the plans as we continue on with this, because there is going to be a lot of setup here at the beginning.
It's not your average Cities Skylines video.
Yeah. I mean, no matter how we did this, because I think that I'm not the only one here. I'm probably speaking for all of you guys when I say this. I think that we all sort of try to plan, usually when we do a project in Cities Skylines, to plan out the build in a way that maybe isn't always as it's not always done in a way that I would do it if I wasn't recording. Like I'm going to think about, okay, how is this going to form into an episode, and how is this going to be interesting to watch? Because no one wants to watch like a whole bunch of just setup. But I think that to an extent, this project just didn't really, I mean, no matter how we did it, there was just things that were dependent on the highways and things that were dependent on where the terminals were, and we really couldn't do it any other way. We had to just kind of go step by step here and lay out the infrastructure in this particular way. So it made it kind of tough.
And the hours that it takes to do all that.
So real quick, after seeing this this kind of first building that we've placed take shape, I wanted to start talking about kind of our inspiration. This is a terminal building that started. Right. So I figure this one's actually very close to where I am right now. Mm-hmm. So I saw that. I'm like, oh, that looks... Oh, yeah, that's right. We totally planned it like this. Mm-hmm. So, Flex, what's this based off of?
Oh, well, this is based off quite a few airports. I mean, I don't know if it's really fair to say it's purely inspired off of one thing. I'd say that can you remember exactly which airport the building came from? This international terminal. I know that Vasimir based it off of it's GRU is the airport call name, but I can't remember exactly.
That's Sao Paulo. Is this terminal from Sao Paulo? Because parenthesis here. Vasimir has been a huge help in the development of this series. I wanted to sort of address that before I do anything else. Most of the assets that you're going to see in future episodes were like basically custom made for us. And we try to keep them generic enough so they can use them in your own projects. But he has probably the most comprehensive assets in the workshop for making airports, and we're probably going to be using 75% of those throughout the whole project. This one in particular, I don't remember if this one was Guarulhos, which is Sao Paulo's
I did actually just look it up. Yeah, it is. It is Sao Paulo. So
Perfect.
It is.
Yes.
It's that main terminal for Sao Paulo. So I know he based it off that, but we definitely took a lot of inspiration for the actual airport from like SFO and definitely Kennedy, right?
So I was gonna say this kind of intro or this opening building. I remember back at the beginning of the summer we spent like long nights just with Google Maps looking at random airports. Like I'm sure somebody monitoring our internet activity would be like, "This is getting weird, guys." But yeah, so it's really cool, and I mean, knowing more than you guys, the viewers, know how this all works out, but seeing all these different designs and things blended together.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's kind of the Sao Paulo terminal, but set up like the entrance to SFO with the kind of double deck with the highways. I remember when we first like looked at that airport, you were just like, "That's it.
That's the one.
Perfect."
Yeah.
So yeah. There have definitely been quite a few of those moments where it's just like we're struggling to find references. Like, yeah, none of these look great, and then we find some airport somewhere.
Right. And that's the
I think,
one.
Strict, you've been looking at like Minneapolis a lot.
Yeah, actually, that was one of Vasimir's ideas, and I loved the runway layout of that one, and just how, because it's not like a super like massive international airport. It's still pretty huge because it has like a military base attached to it and some cargo facilities, but it kind of has a little bit of everything. That's what I liked, and it's like pretty generic in the way it looks. So I thought it was like perfect. I love that kind of stuff. But you know, every time I open up Cities Skylines, I need to record this series. I pretty much have like 5 or 6 different airports open in different tabs. Google Maps. We looked at extensively at the one in Miami too.
Oh, right.
Of course, JFK, Boston, just any big airport all over the world.
Right.
We use as their
I
inspiration.
spent some time recently trying to find ones outside the U.S. So it is definitely like an American-based airport,
Definitely is, yeah.
and you'll be able to see that in a lot of layout. Obviously, like the road sign, and it's what we have most experience with. So it makes a lot of sense. And of course, we are going to be using the new expanded Better Planes pack, which is American focused. That was my contribution to this whole thing. So I forced them to use that.
One of your many.
What if you're many?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
by the way, all those assets, you can find them. I'm sure there's going to be in the description of these videos. You can find. So okay, quick thing. There's going to be multiple collections for assets if you want to get your hands on these. The thing is, every time we swap turns, instead of just sending a huge list of assets to the one person that had created the collection for the project, it's better for us to create our own collections and then just link them at the bottom of a main one. So we're going to include the link to the main collection probably in the description, and you need to like scroll all the way down and just subscribe to all the linked collections. There's many of those. This is the easiest way we could have done it, at least for us. Otherwise, we would have spending so much time just dealing with asset management instead of actually building things.
Yeah, and it helps with mods too, because I know in conjunction with screwing up all the highways, Green Cities did actually also make it so save games have like a subscribe to all assets used.
Right. Yeah.
But the problem is, if we used that, which is a nice tool, and I've already used it for some things, but it would have meant that like, oh, we're not using Move It, and we'd just like forget and screw that up, or like. Especially some of the mods that need configuration, like the Great Map doesn't work without a specific Reco file
the settings
and setup, because otherwise the Walmart is just a Walmart and not a bunker for 25,000 people.
Exactly. Yeah.
We had a couple of issues too with DLCs because I got natural disasters and a whole bunch of other DLCs that Flux didn't have. So I started building all happy and excited, and then I realized that the Walmart and the fusion reactor like blew up because there were no fire trucks or something. That wasn't actually really an issue with the DLC, but more than the fact that I disabled all the vanilla buildings with advanced vehicle options, so there wasn't no police or fire coverage anywhere, which didn't work.
Yeah, I was missing all the DLC too, which certainly didn't help. I mean, that's another story, right? Like the whole CNU situation where I accidentally didn't include like that one very critical
fence.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all the DLC now. I'll just say that. I think it's. But
I mean, other than that, I mean that taught us a sort of a valuable lesson when it comes to co-ops like this, which we haven't done before, but we're starting to do it right now. Basically, every time we swap turns with the save game, we just take the time, like 30 minutes, to let the simulation run on its own and potentially spot all these problems before we actually start building things. Because you lost a lot of work to Flux with Surface Painter failing at some point, right?
Yeah, that was a bummer. Yeah, it's just there's just so many variables in this game that I think like you can take all the precautions, you can like make sure that all the mods are enabled correctly or whatever, but something can always go wrong, even if it's something simple like Surface Painter failing, you know, which is almost always spottable by just like grabbing Surface Painter and then drawing over an already painted area. And if it like glitches out, or if all your surfaces are gone, then it's already kind of broken. But you know, if it's glitching out whenever you try and draw new Surface Painter stuff over existing Surface Painter stuff, that's how you know it's broken. And you can take precautions. You know, you can actually just enable the, what is it, like, it's like update all Surface Painter on the map or something in the
something
settings,
like that. We tried it, but it didn't work that one time, so I'm not sure. Maybe the DLC also broke that. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but either way, I think that the number one way to just prevent all issues like that is just to, and you've already said it, is just to kind of run simulation at the beginning and take your time and just kind of check all the things off. You know, like when I open the save in my mind, I kind of go through a checklist. I'm like, all right, is Surface Painter working? Yeah, Surface Painter's working. Okay, cool. Are all my vehicles enabled? Okay, cool. They are. Like, nothing's gonna burn down. We have all the fire trucks enabled and everything. That's good.
That's very appropriate for an airport project.
It is
having a checklist.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, it's
your pre-flight.
It's pretty much. Yeah, it is like a pre-flight. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. You know, so I check all those things, and then, you know, make sure that my Roads United's enabled, and that my settings for the Ultimate Eye Candy are set up properly, which is the thing that's always kind of
you just made me realize that I just recorded a bunch of cinematics without Roads United set up.
Yeah,
oh god.
Yeah, I just, it's so easy to forget those things. So I've gotten kind of this like workflow kind of checklist now that I always try and jump through. But
you should probably print one out.
Yeah, really, just
to be sure. For
tape it to your monitor so you make sure you're ready. Yeah.
So now that we're you know, seeing a more comprehensive amount of freeware work here, why don't we talk a little bit about what each of these lanes take you to? Because it looks like they're not going anywhere right now.
Yeah. This was a.
Do you even remember?
Yeah, I do remember actually. But it was a really interesting highway to set up because there was. Well, first of all, I didn't want it to just be like a mess, like a knot of highway, and it's something that I've kind of tried to implement more in newer highway interchanges that I make. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but like my Rhinestone Island interchanges, a couple of them like were super chaotic, and I had like, you know, proper connections, and it actually like functioned the way it should, but I just had like kind of roads angling in different directions, and so just aesthetically I didn't really like the way they looked. I just thought that they functioned well, and that was good. But with this one, I really wanted to have all of the highways kind of following the same sort of flow. I almost think of it as like cable management, you know, like you don't want to have just like random strands of highway kind of going off their own direction, you know. You kind of tie them all together and have them all kind of follow the same flow and direction. So this one has like this giant kind of arcing loop, and you can't really see it right now, but it's sort of a little further down here. But it's all kind of following the same arcing pattern, and so it's like, I think it's like a triple or even I don't think it's a quadruple stack. I think it's just triple stack, but it's a very, very stacked interchange. You can see them all kind of following the same sort of pattern and direction. And doing it like that definitely means you have to be a little more careful about the slopes.
I don't know about you, but I see 4 layers in there. Oh, don't sell yourself short. That looks like a quad stack.
Is that a quad stack? I think it's just triple. Yeah. I think it looks like it could be a quad stack because 2 of them are kind of offset. But anyway,
maybe it's 2 triples right next to each other.
Actually, I think that is exactly what it is. But anyway, you have to be more careful about the steepness of your slopes. I think is a big thing that becomes a problem, and so that was kind of the biggest challenge, was making slopes that felt like reasonable to me, because you can always just kind of connect stuff and make it all work. But I don't know. I wanted to make sure that the slopes were reasonable. It wasn't like you're just driving up this 45-degree angle to get up to the upper parts of the highway.
Yeah. The only takeoffs here are for the plane.
Yeah,
exactly. But going back to what the lanes do, this one was kind of a weird one to design, like I was saying earlier. I think that this main road here, this 5-lane road, is supposed to be all of the entry traffic that goes to the international terminal and and the railway kind of connection, which is actually not really apparent right now. But the way it works is we have the bypass highway that goes underneath the international terminal, and then we have these 2 ramps that come up to this big like 5-lane thing, which I'm messing with right now, and you can see it's getting tweaked quite a bit. It's going to be really strange when it's done. Once we get the road markings in, it makes a lot more sense. Right now it looks kind of dangerous, but it's safer than it looks, I promise. But all these roads go to either the upper or lower tier of this little kind of pickup drop-off area for the international terminal. And the idea was to have maybe all buses, you know, for arrivals and departures, either on the upper level or the bottom level. So we have like a bus lane on the outside, or maybe it's on the inside, I don't really know. And then the inner or outer lane would be for the passengers just, you know, arriving in their civilian cars. And then there'd be arrivals, probably, did we say on top or on the bottom? There's like a standard for highways in that.
Arrival is always at the bottom.
Arrivals on top.
Right?
What? I can't remember.
Departures at the top, and arrivals is at the bottom.
Oh, God,
right?
yeah, sorry. I thought arriving the airport, departing the airport by car.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Airline departures
exactly,
are up
yes.
top.
Right. So the idea is that one of these, and as we've decided, is departures on top would be, you know, the top tier, and then the bottom tier would be the other one. And then these all go through to sort of like a second little double stacked kind of section that's just straight for now. It's not really even visible. I don't think I really touch on it much in this episode anyway, so I don't know if you'll see it too much. But I'm designing that for the future when we have like a railway kind of entry point from.
Ooh, you're just giving out spoilers there.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I think we're gonna talk about
else.
that briefly, but
we will probably.
Yeah. We haven't done that at the recording of this episode. We haven't started that work yet, so we have no idea how that's gonna come out.
Right. But
it's sorry, this whole entrance is largely SFO inspired. So that rail station, I think in real life, is like the BART, like subway station, but we're kind of tweaking that. It's gonna be a little different.
Okay, well, yeah, we're pretty much at the end of the episode, actually, so let's kind of hold off on talking about the rest until next episode. Really, this time kind of flew by. We have a lot to talk about still, so I guess we'll just get back to that stuff in the next few episodes. It's good because we have a lot of plans, and we also have a lot of episodes of highways, so
yes,
we could talk about all those things.
The next one will be on Jace's channel, by the way.
It will be.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say.
Let's talk about that.
Check out some highway work, but done worse.
I really like the highways, actually. I think they look.
I'm trying hard.
No, they look great.
But yeah, so I'm really excited. The next episode will be on my channel, and it's going to be kind of all the terminals,
right?
Which was very scary to look at. But anyway,
it was a lot of necessary infrastructure work. But anyway, yeah, we're going to call it here. That's the end of the episode. So hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to check out the next episode on Jay's channel or B Squigglehausen, and it'll also be, of course, linked in the description down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.